Taoiseach, in June of this year, a scoping report on the sexual exploitation of children in state care by UCD academics Dr. Mary Canning, Dr. Marie Keenan and Miss Ruth Breslin was published. The report outlined in horrifying detail the predatory behaviour that these young people, mainly young girls, are being subjected to. We were told they are being manipulated, coerced or deceived into sexual activity in return for something they want or need, to the advantage, of course, of the perpetrator. We read how some of the most vulnerable children in this state, in state care, are going missing or running away from home or a care placement, despite the fact that some have an intellectual disability, suffered prior sexual abuse or neglect, alcohol or drug misuse. Unfortunately, this frankly terrifying and explosive report was lost in the media noise generated by the RTE payments controversy. It has received nothing like the kind of media and political attention that it deserves, because it is very concerning. I have placed a number of parliamentary questions on this matter. The most recent reply left me almost speechless. I have been informed that almost 5 months on from the publication of this explosive report, the Department of Children has made absolutely no contact with the Department of Justice to discuss these matters, nor has anyone from the Department of Justice reached out to the Department of Children. How can this be, Taoiseach? We know that the Criminal Law Sexual Offences Act 2017 clearly states that a child below the age of sexual consent, 17, cannot consent to sexual activity. This clearly demonstrates that there is a legal and justice-related dimension to this issue. Yet, in 5 months, there has been no engagement with or from the Department of Justice on the scoping report and on its recommendations. I and my staff have met with Dr. Canning and Ms. Breslin, and we had a very informative, fruitful and constructive discussion. They acknowledge that the Minister O'Gorman, took the issue seriously, but clearly there is a desperate and almost unforgivable lack of urgency, which concerns many of us greatly. Urgency must be applied to this issue at the interdepartmental level. I'm asking you today, Taoiseach, to ensure that attention is refocused on this highly significant report and that it becomes a priority of government, and in particular Department of Children and Department of Justice, to progress the recommendations made within it. Will you commit to doing that here today, Taoiseach?
Thank you, Deputy Nolan. Taoiseach.
First of all, I thank the Deputy for raising this very important issue, and the UCD Sexual Exploitation Research Programme report raises matters of the most profound concern. The Department of Children, Equality, Disability and Integration and TUSLA are aware of risks to children in care, and TUSLA is continually working to address these complex and concerning issues, including working with An Garda Síochána as required. There's no doubt that children in the care of the state are the most vulnerable individuals in our society. TUSLA and the Department are committed to promoting safe and high-quality practice in all areas of alternative care. Now, this report raises concerning issues, as you've said, in relation to the potential exploitation of children, including those in the care of the state. That some of the contributors to the research reportedly felt that young girls in residential care were being targeted by predatory and organised groups. That is particularly concerning. The report does not purport to be representative of the experience, of course, of all children or professionals working with children. Nonetheless, it sheds very important light on these very important matters. Now, Minister O'Gorman, again, as you've fairly said, he has engaged and met with the authors of the report. His officials have engaged with TUSLA to ensure that any child protection concerns outlined in the report have been actively followed up, including in respect of any necessary reports to An Garda Síochána. And prior to the publication of the UCD report, the Department of Children and TUSLA had established a working group looking at institutional and organisational abuse. The Department has since requested that this group examine the report, provide a response and make recommendations as required. I've been informed that once this working group provides a response to the SERP report, it is the intention of the Minister to then pursue what further steps may be deemed necessary. On the 27th of July, the Minister met with a delegation from the UCD SERP, including one of the authors of the report, in order to discuss the research in more detail. He outlined to them the next steps he's taking, and the authors of the report were urged to report to TUSLA any child protection issues that were mentioned in the report and where a child may be at risk. On the 31st of July, the Minister wrote to the Joint Committee on Children in order to provide his observations on the report and outline a number of significant initiatives that TUSLA and the Department of Children have undertaken in recent years to mitigate the risks to children of sexual exploitation while they are in the care of the state. And on Wednesday, the 20th of September, the Minister engaged directly with the joint Oireachtas Children's Committee on wide-ranging matters relating to TUSLA's provision of alternative care services. And there's a range of key actions that have been undertaken by the Department in respect of child sexual exploitation. On the 10th of July, the Department wrote to TUSLA, requested from the agency a response to the UCD report to outline the extent to which the issues raised are being addressed and identify any gaps relating to child sexual exploitation. The Department again requested that the Institutional Abuse Group consider the report, provide a response and make recommendations. The Department also requested TUSLA to liaise with An Garda Síochána regarding the issues raised in the findings of the report, and the Department is leading an interdepartmental group on the national implementation of Barnahus, which is a multi-agency approach to the provision of forensic medical intervention and therapeutic services to children subject to child sexual abuse.
Deputy Nolan.
Garma, good Taoiseach, thank you for your response. But I do regard this situation, as many others do, as an absolute emergency. It's absolutely shocking, and it needs more urgency and more actions, and at speed. I do believe that the actions need to be sped up significantly. I know that one immediate action that could be taken here today and committed to is to deal with how these issues are classified by the Department of Justice. I know in my discussions with Dr. Canning and Ms. Ruth Breslin that was emphasised. The scoping report clearly shows that the reclassification of data by the Department of Justice in 2017 has led to a significant reduction in offences recognised as trafficking of children for sexual exploitation. And although the reasons offered for the reclassification were deemed vague and difficult to substantiate in a meaningful way by the Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission, so I think that needs to be looked at, the whole area of reclassification. And I want to end by saying that it would be to our eternal shame if we were to allow this scoping report and its findings once more to recede into the media and political shadows. The voices of these children who desperately need our help urgently, need to be heard above the noise. They are screaming for our help, and we must not turn a deaf ear towards them. We must act. Thank you.
Again, I thank the Deputy for raising the issue. I think you've performed a good, if you don't mind me saying so, public service in having the issue brought to the floor of this House during leaders' questions. It gives the issue the attention and profile that it, without question, deserves and justifies. And again, TUSLA in 2021 have implemented its child exploitation procedure in partnership with An Garda Síochána. So there is a strong partnership between TUSLA and An Garda Síochána. A joint working protocol between TUSLA and An Garda Síochána forms a critical part of the response to child abuse, neglect and child sexual exploitation. A principal social worker from TUSLA has been seconded to the Garda National Protective Service Bureau for a number of years, and TUSLA has established an anti-trafficking working group in readiness of the Department of Justice's National Action Plan for Human Trafficking, which includes the area of child sexual exploitation. I will follow up with the Minister in respect of the issue of reclassification and the classification of these issues, and will revert back to the Deputy.
Thank you very much.